joining me here today. I'm really excited to be at Agile Yorkshire. I've actually never made it to one yet, but I have been planning to come here for quite some time. I feel like pre-COVID, I just started to get into the swing of things, doing some public speaking, coming to loads of events like this. I've been to quite a few in this very room. And then COVID happened and obviously just fell out of love with it a little bit. I'm not very good with virtual events, so I'm glad to be back in person. So I might be a little bit rusty, so apologies for that. I haven't had a drink here, but I am a little bit drunk on Lemsip because I've got a little bit of a cold, so you can blame any rustiness on that. So I want to talk about two of what I think are the most important words in tech, which are flexibility and financial freedom. First of all, I'm just going to do a little bit of an intro and talk about my career journey and the work that I do at Code First Skills as well. So I guess that's a bit small. I've started my journey into tech when I chose to study computing at A-level. And back then, I think there was about 1,000 of us in the year group, about 100 of us doing computing, and I was the only girl. So the only girl out of 1,000 students. And I think I remember at the time thinking, why? What do I know that they don't? Like, this is a great choice. When I spoke to my friends or other people at college about it, they just were like, didn't even know that this college offered that course. I didn't even know what that course is. So I think ever since then, I've been on a bit of a mission to encourage more women, more people generally, but I guess specifically women, to study computing or get into tech. So I then went on to study computer science. I moved to Leeds and I've stayed. I've never moved away because I love it here. And then I graduated as a software developer at a company called XLab. They are a small company based in Leeds who make software for NHS pathology labs. I think they've changed a lot since then, so that's probably not their elevator pitch anymore, but that's what they were doing at the time. And I fully made the most of flexible working and things like that because, as you can see, I had a few different roles there. I was very lucky early on in my career to be able to try out a few different roles. I had a short stint as a delivery lead after being a software developer, and then found my feet in a product role where I found it was kind of the right balance between my technical skills and the more people, business side of things. And then I went on to be a product owner at Larsa, which took me to the end of last year. And then at the end of last year, I actually took a little bit of a career break. I feel like this slide makes it look a little bit more dramatic than it was. It was not that much of a chaotic career break, but I only have the free version of Canva, and all of the squiggly roads were the pro version. So we've gone for a nice spiral. So I took a career break last year to just do a little bit of traveling, and which I was very lucky to be able to do. Came back and I quit without a job lined up. So that was kind of freeing and also terrifying. Did get to the point where I was accruing a slightly worrying amount of credit card debt before I got paid again. But the stars aligned in the end because I found this job at Code First Girls, Senior Technical Programs Manager. It was the only job that I applied for. I think I got back from traveling on the 18th of December and applied on the 4th of January. So I put all my eggs in one basket, but luckily I got the job. And the stars aligned. Sorry again for the free Canva graphics. The stars aligned because I think, this job is kind of the perfect balance again between tech and the people side of things, strategic, the Goldilocks zone. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Code First Girls do and our community before moving on to the rest of the talk. A little bit of a plug here. Code First Girls, they have an amazing community and it's really built on a community. I started volunteering with Code First Girls as an instructor in 2017. They taught 2 courses and they were 8 weeks long, one in web development and one in Python. I taught the Intro to Web Development course whilst I was a student at Leeds University in a little dingy room in a random corridor in the E.C. Stoner building of Leeds University, and we had to wedge the door open at 6 p.m. because it would get closed automatically. And they've come a long way since then. So they set out on a mission in 2018, I think it was, to teach 20,000 women how to code by 2020. And they met the goal, they exceeded that goal. I think they met it a little bit earlier. And since then, we've actually provided 200,000 free learning opportunities to women. Which is absolutely crazy. It's obviously expanded. Back then, I think it was a team of 3 or 4 people built on a network of volunteers. and now there's about 60 of us, and the instructor role is actually a paid role now. It's not just random volunteers like me who are completely unqualified. So yeah, it's gone from growth to growth, which is really exciting. And there's just some stats there about the community. It used to be mostly university grads, in fact, just students. But now there's around 50% of university grads or students, as well as professionals or career switchers. So a lot of people that move from areas like teaching or nursing. I think they're some of the most common career switches. And we champion diversity in our community as well. So you can see some stats here. We have 57% from underrepresented ethnicities, bless you, 27% eligible for free school meals, 55% were the first generation to attend university, and 19% identify as neurodiverse as well, which is really cool. And I'll just talk for a few minutes about the courses that we offer, just in case anyone wants to apply. They are completely free, or if anyone wants to get involved from a sponsorship perspective as well. They kind of work like a funnel. You start with the MOOCs, which stands for Massive Open Online Courses. They're just taster sessions in a huge variety of subjects. And then you can kind of funnel down into the coding Kickstarter classes. Those are those 8-week classes that I mentioned before that I used to teach. And then we have the Code First Girls degree, which is a bit like a coding boot camp. It's a 16-week program taught on an evening and usually sponsored by a company. So at the end of it, you can have your first job in tech. We also offer education-only places as well. So you might not necessarily get the job at the end, but there's loads of opportunities that arise as part of doing the degree. The other one that I think is really exciting is the mid-level accelerator. So we kind of identified, well, it's known that around 50% of women leave roles in tech by the age of 35. It's not particularly known exactly if there's one reason for that or a mix of different reasons, but companies really struggle to keep and retain that mid to senior level talent, especially with women. So we have a mid-level accelerator, which is designed to get people from junior to mid or senior level roles in tech. So I'm really excited about that one because I think that it's something that most kind of coding boot camps and places like that don't really offer. So that's all I'm going to say about Code First Girls for now. But if you do have any questions, if you want to apply, you can head to the website or grab me afterwards for a chat. So what I wanted to talk about for the rest of the talk is what I think the most important F words are in tech. Does anyone have a favourite F word? I wonder if it's the same as mine. It's flexibility and financial freedom that I would like to talk about. So we're going to start with a little quiz. Well, maybe not a quiz. Fill the blanks. So I'm going to read out a statement. There's a blank number in it, and you can guess what it is. So in what year did the UK pass the Sex Discrimination Act, allowing women to apply for credit independently? I've been seeing a lot of this recently, so it might be at the forefront of some people's minds, or maybe not. But does anyone have any guesses?
1972.
That's very close, actually.
73.
A bit closer.
74.
You're so close.
76.
75. So yeah, in 1975, the UK passed the Sex Discrimination Act, allowing women to apply for credit independently. So until then, women in the UK were not allowed to apply for a credit card without the approval of a man, and that was less than 50 years ago, which is a little bit crazy. So the next one is globally, the average gender pay gap is what? I feel like this one's a bit...
Yes, single digit.
30.
Bit lower.
20.
Yes. The average gender pay gap is 20%. And that is obviously an issue that is persistent across all countries pretty much. Next one is, according to the UN, women perform what % of the world's total unpaid care work?
90?
You've actually gone in a bit too high. And
Too quick.
we're gonna. I'll lose the shock factor if you overguess. It's a little bit less.
70.
A little bit more.
80.
It's 76%. So obviously, performing this amount of unpaid care work does limit women's ability to engage in paid employment. And the last one is, according to a study conducted by the World Bank, an estimated 1 in how many women globally experience financial control by their partners as a form of economic abuse. I think this one was the most shocking one. 1 in 3. 1 in 3. Economic abuse often occurs alongside other forms of abuse. Generally, if someone is a victim of domestic abuse, then economic abuse is part of that. And obviously this prevents women from gaining financial independence. And obviously that'll be worse in certain countries than others. But yeah, globally, 1 in 3, which is pretty crazy. So we live in a world where financial security is crucial to succeed. There's so many benefits, obviously, to working in tech. There's innovation, there's creativity, there's working on amazing, exciting, cutting-edge projects. And whilst they're all amazing, I think we often overlook the best or most privileged of all, which is just we're here to earn some money, and financial security is really a blessing. I think there's around 1.4 billion people in the world that don't have access to formal financial services. So that's like a bank account, basically. So just by being here in the UK, I think it's a very privileged position to be in, that we have some level of financial security already. And I wish I could say that my choice... Oh, sorry, I've just been touching the mic. I'm really bad at, playing with things when I talk. I wish I could say that my choice to study computer science and get into tech was driven entirely by passion. And it was quite a lot, because as a teenager, I really liked Tumblr and I wanted to learn how to make my own Tumblr theme. So that was part of it. But it was partially because I knew that I wanted to pick a career or a subject at university where I would be financially secure and I would have some financial independence. Because growing up, I've seen a lot of people not have that and how important it really is. I've yet to make my millions, but I'm living comfortably, and that's more than most people in the world can say. And flexible working disproportionately benefits women. So if we think back to the statistic on unpaid labour, or the fact that most single-parent households are women, or even in dual-parent households, most of the time spent with kids is often women, then yeah, we can see that flexible working is really disproportionately beneficial to women. So there's a quote from a book by Amy... Oh no, I've forgotten her name. The book's called Forget About Having It All. And the quote is, "We expect women to work like they don't have children and raise children as if they don't work." So in the book, she highlights the historical context that's led to these pressures, and how in modern day society and modern day feminism, we have this expectation that women can overcome it all and have it all, putting the ownership on these individual women that they can overcome it all themselves. But actually, she advocates more for a structural change and how we as a society need to change to get this to work, rather than putting it on the individual people, which I think is a really important point. So what about tying this all into Agile? So obviously we're here at Agile Yorkshire, and I did think about putting Agile in the title, but it's not an F word. And then I thought about some kind of play on words that could work. I just kept ending up with fragile, and I thought, no one needs to hear me. No one needs to hear me stand up here for half an hour and talk about feeling fragile, so I just left it out. But obviously, I think it would be nice to see how the role of Agile ties in very closely to flexibility and financial freedom as well. So from the Agile manifesto, which I'm sure as Agile professionals you all know and love, recite to yourself in the mirror every day, etc. One of the key principles is responding to change over following a plan. And I think if we look at flexible working and how, for example, that has changed in response to the pandemic, then this Agile principle can absolutely be applied there. And we can see the benefits of when we do decide to respond to change over following a plan. Another one from the manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So again, I think focusing on our team members and their interactions instead of the outputs such as whether they were sat at their desk for 40 hours this week, whether they were the first to log on, whether they were in the office. It's much more important to look at their actions, their interactions and how they are performing and their outcomes instead of these silly metrics that don't really mean anything. So I actually remember when I left my first product owner role, I felt incredibly underqualified to go into another one. And I was really nervous, and I was talking to this software developer that I worked really closely with. And he was giving me a few different tips for the interview, and he was saying some that were a little bit as a joke. And he said, just say outcomes over outputs for every single question that they ask you. Just say outcomes over outputs. And I was like, okay. And then I thought, oh, actually, that is really, it's really important though. And it's always stuck in my mind because it is so much more important to focus on the outcomes. It's not important, if you have two people in a team and one is taking care of a child, one works from home, one works in the office, one logs on super early every day, one logs on super late. I personally am a night owl. And when we first started working from home in the pandemic, it was incredible to write some code at 2 a.m. And not have to do it and then not have to get up the next day until 11 and start again. If we focus on the outcomes, so is that person meeting the goals of that job? Is that person doing what they need to do? Then it really doesn't matter how they get there or the outputs or the inputs. And a little bit on diversity and inclusion as well. As we talk about flexibility and financial freedom, it's essential to recognise how these values are so intertwined with diversity and inclusion, creating a tech landscape where women can thrive, where everyone can thrive, I nearly said survive, thrive, requires, especially those people from underrepresented backgrounds, requires more than just flexible working options. Sorry, I'm touching the mic again. It requires having these flexible principles and flexible working policies at the core of everything we do, and a commitment to inclusion and diversity across all levels as well. So yeah, they're not separate conversations. They are all intertwined, I think, and we need to be considering these if we want to have a truly flexible workplace. So let's end on a more positive little fill in the blank quiz again. In 2023, what % of companies reported that offering flexible working hours helped them attract and retain more women in tech?
100.
83.
A bit lower.
75.
A bit lower.
50.
Higher. 67%. And a report in 2023 highlighted that what % of women who considered leaving their tech jobs before the pandemic actually decided to stay due to flexible arrangements becoming more widespread?
40.
I've actually forgot. Very close, very close. A little bit lower.
35.
Tiny bit higher. It was 38. So I think that's a really impressive statistic, because that's someone that was considering leaving a specific role and deciding to stay because of flexible working arrangements. I mean, for me, when I've decided to leave a job, I've really checked out and there's no going back. So I think that's quite an impressive one. So yeah, to summarise, the more flexible our working environments become, the closer we can get to true financial freedom and financial equality. Ada Lovelace Day is a really good reminder, I think, of how far we've come as an industry, as a society, but also how much further we can go if we continue to build environments that support flexibility and inclusion for everyone. Thank you.